Of course. Here is the culturally adapted American novel version of the text provided. Adapted American novel text. Synopsis: 10 years ago. At Luna Lake, Jake Carter pulled a drunk, wealthy sorority girl from the water. To defy her family and be with a broke college kid like him, she stabbed herself in the stomach. A half-inch to the side, and it would have been fatal. She was tall, with a cascade of black hair and a face so fine it could have been carved from marble. Her fitted white t-shirt and blue skinny jeans did little to hide a figure that was all dangerous curves. The very picture of a woman who knew exactly what she wanted. 10 years later, Havenwood Park, the Lover's Oak, under the ancient boughs where promises were made. A man in a perfectly tailored suit waited, a portrait of quiet disappointment. His driver, pulled a Mercedes-Benz S-Class to the curb. His name was Jake Carter, 30 years old, holding onto a pact made with a girl under this very tree a decade ago. Same time tomorrow, Jake? Will asked. We promised we'd meet here, Jake said, his voice low. 10 years to the day. But she's 6 months late, man. Are you still going to wait? Jake's gaze remained fixed on the carved initials in the oak's bark. For the girl who was willing to put a knife in her own stomach for me. Yeah, I'll wait forever. Chapter 1. The Girl Beneath the Lover's Oak. Havenwood Park was a sprawling, nationally acclaimed reserve, its roller coasters and manicured gardens a backdrop for countless first dates and family outings. By the shore of Luna Lake stood an ancient tree, the Lover's Oak. Legend claimed it was magic. If two people in love tied a red ribbon to its branches and whispered their lover's name, the oak would build a bridge of hope between them, no matter the distance. Aurora, Jake Carter whispered to the empty air, his tall, lean frame cutting a sharp figure in his business suit. Aurora Hayes, can you hear me? I'm waiting. Mr. Carter, we should go. Your mother's got that blind date lined up for you, Will called out, pulling the Mercedes alongside him. Jake gave a small nod to the old man who worked as the park's unofficial caretaker for the oak, then slid into the plush leather of the back seat. As the car emerged onto the elevated freeway, Will glanced at his boss in the rearview mirror, catching the handsome, yet lonely, expression on his face. Jake caught the glance and the formal title. Will, how many times have I told you? Jake said, a faint smile breaking his somber mood. We're friends. Just call me Jake. Will, slightly overweight and a few months younger than Jake, grinned. They'd both been born in '96. Hey, the old guy was there. Gotta keep it professional, you know? Jake chuckled, the dark cloud over his heart lifting just a little. We didn't know how to show our soft sides. Thought that dying for love was just an old story. Jake's phone buzzed. It was a custom ringtone, an old Ed Sheeran song he'd set after meeting her. It had never changed. Hey, Mom, I'm on my way now. Yeah. I promise I won't be late. He paused, faking urgency. Mom, Will just told me there's a company emergency I need to handle. Gotta go, I'll call you back. He hung up, and Will shot him a look in the mirror. Dude, really? I'm a fall guy again. Your mom already told me I'm the biggest roadblock to you getting married. Jake stretched. We're best friends for. If you don't take the heat, who will? He sighed. Besides, she's serious this time. Said if I bail on this blind date, she's threatening to disown me. Will laughed, turning the wheel and following the GPS onto a different route. I'm just curious, man. You're 30, you're worth millions. Girls throw themselves at you, and you turn them all down. He paused. Was she really that special? Jake turned to watch the city lights blur past, a river of neon and steel. They all love the man I am now, he said quietly. She's the only one who loved the kid I was then. Will fell silent, lost in thought. The question sent Jake's own mind reeling back to the first time they met. 10 years ago, Havenwood Park by the shore of Luna Lake. Somebody help. A girl fell in. The water's deep there. Don't go in if you can't swim. Gurgle, gurgle. Just as the dark water was about to claim her, a powerful figure dove in. At 6'1", he cut through the water like a torpedo, reaching the drowning girl in seconds. It was a 20-year-old Jake, a sophomore in college. Avoid front-on contact. You don't want them to panic and pull you under. He remembered the rule from his lifeguard certification course. He swam behind her, hooking an arm under her chin and pulling her steadily toward the shore. Huh. He gasped for air, dragging her onto the grass. Kid's a damn hero. Way to go, son. He took a few deep breaths and looked down at the girl. Even in the water, he knew. She was tall, with long black hair plastered to a face so perfect it looked unreal. Her white t-shirt and blue jeans were soaked, clinging to a stunning figure. The very definition of a goddess. Wow, someone in the crowd muttered. She could be a movie star. But her eyes were closed. Her face was deathly pale. There was no breath, no pulse. Jake scrambled for his phone in the jacket he'd thrown on the ground and dialed 911. Then he went to work. He cleared her mouth and nose of water and debris, tilted her head back, and began CPR. Smell of alcohol. Did she fall in drunk? He thought, as he sealed his mouth over hers for rescue breaths and pressed down on her chest. He was vaguely aware of the envious stares from every guy in the crowd. Their thoughts were practically screaming, "Get out of the way and let me do it." But none of them knew how. Jake wasn't thinking about any of that. He was focused on one thing, saving this beautiful girl's life. Cough, cough, cough. Seconds stretched into an eternity. The crowd of onlookers started to thin. Just as Jake's arms were about to give out, the girl choked, spewing lake water, and her chest began to rise and fall on its own. "Thank God," Jake breathed. "You're awake." She opened her hazy eyes. With her exquisite face, the gentle breeze lifting strands of wet hair, and her soaked shirt revealing the impressive contours beneath, she was utterly captivating. She just stared at him. 1 second, 2. At first, he met her gaze, but after a few more seconds, he felt a flush of embarrassment and looked away. He could have sworn he saw a look in her eyes like she'd just discovered a priceless treasure. "Get a grip," he told himself with a wry smile. "You've never seen this girl before in your life. Can you? Can you move your hand? It kind of hurts." Her face was turning from pale to pink. Oh, sorry, my bad." Jake realized his hand was still pressed firmly on her chest and quickly pulled them away. It was getting dark. A cool wind blew in off the lake. Jake helped her into the recovery position, then took off his jacket and draped it over her, both for warmth and to hide her explosive silhouette. The move sent another wave of disappointed onlookers shuffling away. "Listen, don't get the wrong idea," he said, trying to explain to her dazed expression. "I was giving you CPR." He felt a new wave of awkwardness, realizing he'd been so focused on her waking up that he'd forgotten to, stop. He saw her hand move slowly, her fingers brushing against her lips. "The rescue breaths were me, too," he stammered. "It was an emergency. You weren't breathing." But her expression suddenly changed to one of heartbreaking despair, aimed directly at him. "Baby, please don't leave me," she cried. "I'll be good, I promise." Jake. The Onlookers. Chapter 2. A rescue, a rumor, and a whole lot of trouble. "Hey, don't say things like that. You're going to get me killed." With that, the girl's eyes rolled back, and she passed out again. Jake panicked, quickly checking her vitals. Breathing and heartbeat were steady. Thank God. The remaining onlookers, however, exploded. "Did you hear that?" She called him baby and begged him not to leave her. Jesus, and I thought he was some hero. Turns out he's just another scumbag. What a waste of a handsome face. A total player. I don't even know her. I was just saving her life. Jake tried to explain, but he was met with a sea of accusatory glares. In their eyes, he was the jerk who'd dumped his girlfriend, driving her to jump into a lake. He confirmed she wasn't in any immediate danger, and the ambulance was on its way. It was time for a quiet exit. But as he tried to slip away, a middle-aged man with a strong sense of justice grabbed his arm. "Try to run," the man demanded. "I'm telling you, I don't know her. A beautiful girl like this jumps into a lake for you, and you're trying to run? Do you have any shame?" The crowd chimed in. "Yeah, hold him here. Make him take responsibility." The man was furious. "I have a daughter. I can't stand to see scumbags like you get away with this. Get over here." He started dragging Jake, who was a head taller and built from years of swimming, back toward the girl. Jake could have easily broken free, but he hesitated. The man was just a short, balding guy trying to do the right thing. And if he left, who knew what kind of creep might try to take advantage of the unconscious girl? Most importantly, he needed to know why this goddess had just thrown him under the bus. "Now hold her. She's shivering," the man ordered, pushing him down next to her. "Okay, man, you mean well, so I'll play along," Jake thought. He wasn't exactly a saint growing up. He'd been in his fair share of fights and gotten chewed out by his mom more times than he could count. He knelt, and gently gathered the girl into his arms, using his body heat to warm her while the self-righteous crowd watched over them like hawks, waiting for the ambulance. The wail of a siren cut through the evening air. Paramedics pushed through the crowd with a stretcher. Jake carefully helped place the girl onto it. "Whose family?" the lead paramedic asked. "Him," the middle-aged man pointed. "That kid's her boyfriend. Make him go with her. Make him pay for everything. Let his parents see what a monster their son is. This is all his fault, Jake." Now all the female paramedics were glaring at him. The scumbag label was officially permanent. "Fine, I'll go," he sighed, defeated. "But it's not what you think." He climbed into the back of the ambulance. As the vehicle sped away, sirens blazing, it left behind a proud crowd of citizens, congratulating each other on their heroic intervention. Inside the ambulance, a female doctor, flanked by a nurse, began checking the girl's vitals. The CPR was performed correctly and in time. She wasn't in the water long. "Her condition is stable," the doctor said, relieved. Seeing a girl this beautiful and knowing she was okay was a comfort. But when she looked at Jake, her eyes turned to ice. "Young man, just because you're handsome doesn't give you the right to play with a girl's heart. When things like this happen, how do you plan to clean up the mess?" Jake, facing a vehicle full of hostile glares, could only force a smile. "You're right. You're absolutely right. It's my fault." Seeing his admission, the doctor's tone softened slightly. "A girl willing to jump into a lake for love is rare these days. You should cherish her." He just kept nodding, his mind stuck on one thing. How much was this hospital visit going to cost him? He came from a working-class family, a student at a non-prestigious state college, living on a tight budget of maybe $250 a month. "Doctor, is she—" The doctor's glare returned instantly. He quickly corrected himself. "Is my girlfriend going to need to be admitted? How much will it cost?" "I need to be prepared," he asked meekly. "You're lucky. She's not unconscious. She's passed out drunk. I can smell the booze on her from here," the doctor said, her face clouding over again. "And you, letting your girlfriend drink that much. He's a scumbag, that's why." "She was probably heartbroken," a young nurse with acne chimed in. Yes, you're right to lecture me. I'll take better care of her from now on." "So the cost?" Jay continued to nod and smile apologetically. "We'll do a CT scan at the hospital. If everything's clear, she can go. A few $100s, probably," the doctor estimated. A few hundred? Jake's heart sank. His parents had just sent him his monthly allowance. This would wipe out half of it. Looks like it was going to be a ramen noodle month. "What? No money," the doctor snapped. "Then call your parents. Let them see what you've done." No, that's not necessary. I have it, he said quickly. If his mom got involved, he'd get an earful, and probably worse. He had no choice but to take the hit. Outside the hospital, by the time they were done, it was nearly 8 p.m. Passers-by stared at the college-age kid carrying a beautiful, unconscious girl on his back. "What are you looking at?" "Never seen someone drunk before." He noticed a sleazy-looking middle-aged guy trailing them, his eyes glued to the girl's perfectly round rear. Jake spun around and fixed him with a menacing glare until the man gave a nervous laugh and scurried away. He'd already used his phone to search for nearby motels. The closest one was over a mile away. After paying a few hundred for the CT scan, he was left with about $150. To save what was left of his monthly budget, he had to skip the Uber and carry the sleeping girl himself. "This is my luck," he grumbled. "Try to be a hero and end up with this mess." He could feel the weight of her on his back, her warm breath tickling his ear. "Hey, don't you dare throw up on me," he muttered, not knowing if she could even hear him. She seemed to be sleeping soundly. "You look so delicate, but man, you're heavy." He considered calling the cops, but he was afraid she'd wake up and whisper baby again, and they'd lock him up for sure. Calling his parents was an even worse idea. The shame would be unbearable. He trudged on, his steps heavy, crossing the street under the curious gazes of strangers. He knew what they were thinking. Another predator who got a girl drunk to take advantage of her. Passing a small park, he saw a wooden bench and gently set her down to catch his breath. He looked at her sleeping face. Maybe I should just leave her here, he thought. He didn't know her. He'd saved her life, gotten yelled at, and spent a chunk of his precious money, all for nothing. She was gorgeous, but what did that have to do with him? It wasn't like she was his actual girlfriend. Besides, a girl her age drinking that much. What kind of good girl does that? He looked around, took the black purse that was hanging around his neck, and placed it next to her. The hero, who had detained him earlier, had found it and thrust it into his hands. Thump! He'd only taken 2 steps when the drunk girl suddenly rolled over and fell off the bench with a heavy thud. 2 men walking by pointed, smirking with predatory intent as they started to approach her. Shit! Jake cursed, sprinting back and blocking their path. He lifted the girl and gently placed her back on the bench. What you 2 want? This is my girlfriend. Jake was tall and imposing. He looked down at the 2 men, one of whom just smirked. Come on, buddy. Don't be greedy. We can all have a piece of the action. The hell did you just say about my girlfriend? You looking to die? Jake's anger flared. He lunged forward and grabbed the man by the collar, lifting him onto his toes. Hey man, chill out. It was a joke. She's really your girlfriend? Our bad. We're leaving, the other guy said, quickly assessing the size difference and deciding a fight wasn't worth it. Jake's intention was just to scare them off. If a real fight broke out, he couldn't protect the girl. He let the man go, who scrambled away with his friend. Jake sighed and lifted her onto his back again. His steps were heavy as he walked down the street, feeling her weight, especially the soft roundness on either side of his back. Chapter 3. The drunken misunderstanding. The girl slept soundly on his back, her arms dangling, her breathing even. Damn it. Where are all the motels when you need one? He grumbled. Hey, don't you throw up on my shoulder. He tightened his grip on her full thighs to keep her from slipping. A trickle of liquid dribbled from the corner of her mouth. It was just stomach acid. She'd already thrown up everything else, but the smell was awful. I swear, I am never, ever dating a girl who drinks. He picked up the pace, jogging toward a small motel tucked away in an alley he'd spotted. It was a privately run place, not a chain hotel he couldn't afford. He pushed open the glass door with one hand while the other supported the girl's rear. After a short hallway, he reached the front desk. A young woman was staring intently at a glowing computer screen, her face flushed, completely oblivious to his arrival. The front desk was low. Curious, he craned his neck to see what she was looking at. Damn, this girl is reading some seriously steamy fanfiction. Ahem, got any rooms? Ah, welcome to the Serenity Inn. The clerk, a young woman with a baby face, a white blouse, and a form-fitting pencil skirt, looked like a college student working part-time. She frantically tried to switch her screen away from the website. The Serenity Inn was off the beaten path. They rarely got walk-ins this late without an online reservation. She was caught completely off guard. And he's cute, she thought. Wait, who's that on his back? She's gorgeous. And completely wasted. Zoe's eyes narrowed with suspicion. Hey, don't look at me like that. This is my girlfriend, Jake said defensively. Right, she muttered under her breath, not believing him for a second. What kind of guy lets his girlfriend get this hammered? Jake. Well, if we're asking questions, what kind of front desk clerk reads dirty fanfic on the clock? He shot back. Hey, keep your voice down. That's so embarrassing. Zoe yelped, her face turning beet red. I'll be quiet if you get me to a room first. I need to put my girlfriend down, then I'll come back and check in. Jake negotiated. His stamina was gone. He was drenched in sweat, and his shoulders smelled like vomit. Fine. Room 605. Follow me, she huffed, turning and leading the way, her hips swaying. He's handsome, but what a jerk, she thought. Total scumbag. You better have an elevator, he called after her, taking a deep breath and readjusting the girl on his back. Room 605. Zoe swiped the key card, and the lights flickered on. She stepped aside to let Jake in. He stumbled toward the bed and practically dropped the girl onto it. Ah, finally, he groaned, slumping to the floor and leaning against the bed, the heavy burden finally gone. What are you yelling about? Zoe snapped, her mind clearly jumping to inappropriate conclusions. Dude, take my advice. Read less of that stuff. It's not good for you, Jake said wearily. You? Ugh, here's the key card. Come down and register in a bit. I'll need her ID, too, Zoe said, eager to escape. It was a standard room. Queen bed, TV, a small desk, and an adjoining bathroom. There was even a dusty old desktop computer. Jake caught his breath, then reached for the purse around his neck. It felt expensive. He opened it and found the usual female paraphernalia. Lipstick, hair clips, tampons. He blushed slightly. The drunk girl on the bed rolled over, nearly falling off. He sighed, pushed himself up, and repositioned her in the middle of the bed. Then he took out his ID and found hers. She was 20, same as him. He finally had a name for the beautiful girl who'd wrecked his night, Aurora Hayes. He went downstairs to register. Zoe name? Jake. It's on the ID. Zoe, rolling her eyes. Gender? Jake. I'm a dude. A 100% dude. And you are. He glanced at her name tag. Zoe, right? Look, if you're going to be a smartass, I'll just leave a 1-star review. He leaned against the counter, ready for a fight. This girl was holding a grudge. Zoe, a local college student working her way through school, was fuming. This guy has 0 class. So what if I read fanfic? You don't have to announce it to the world. A girl has her pride, you know. You're registered. Call the front desk if you need anything, she said stiffly. Jake decided not to tease the fanfic-loving clerk anymore. He had someone upstairs to take care of. Back in the room, he took a better look around. Above the headboard was a framed picture of a pinup girl. On the nightstand, a large box of tissues. This place is practically designed for horny college kids, he thought. One for mood, one for cleanup. His eyes drifted down to Aurora, lying peacefully on the bed. Her face was stunning, easily on par with any A-list actress. He couldn't help but kneel by the bed to get a closer look. Lying there, so still, you really do look like Sleeping Beauty. Then the smell hit him. He was covered in sweat and vomit. God, I stink. Better take a shower. He figured she was out cold and wouldn't be waking up anytime soon. The bathroom had a shower stall with a large glass door. As he was rinsing off, his phone started ringing from the desk. The ringtone was Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud. He glanced through the glass. Aurora was still sound asleep. Crap. He suddenly realized there was no bath towel, only a small hand towel, probably an oversight by housekeeping. He hesitated. It was almost 9 p.m. It could be his roommate or his mom. Either way, he had to answer. His roommate would be asking if he was coming back to the dorm. His mom. You don't ignore a call from your mom late at night. He was also worried the ringing would wake Aurora. If she saw him standing there naked, he'd go from scumbag to felon. Terrified, he grabbed the tiny hand towel, wrapped it around his waist, and tiptoed to the desk. The caller ID showed it was his roommate. He let out a sigh of relief. Hey, well, what's up? He whispered into the phone. Jake, why are you whispering? You sound like you're robbing a place, Will said, confused. Jake nervously glanced at the sleeping Aurora. From this angle, he had a perfect view of her S-curve. I have to whisper, he thought. If she wakes up and sees me like this, who knows what she'll think? If you have something to say it. Jake hissed. You not coming back tonight? Will asked. I'm out. The buses stopped running, and an Uber is too expensive. Can you cover for me if the RA does a room check? Wretch. A gagging sound came from the bed. Will? Dude, what was that? Are you with a girl? Is she hot? Will's gossip-hungry voice was practically vibrating through the phone. I'll talk to you later, Jake said, quickly hanging up. He looked up to see Aurora kneeling at the edge of the bed, her eyes hazy, staring right at him. A swath of white was visible at her neckline. You, he stammered, instinctively clutching the flimsy towel at his waist. Aurora moaned. I want. Jake froze, his mouth suddenly dry. Want what? Her eyes were heavy-lidded, her body pressed against the edge of the bed. The pressure on her white t-shirt was creating an impressive display. I want. Blech. Shit, she's gonna blow. Anyone who's been drunk knows that lying down is a recipe for disaster. The world starts spinning and your stomach rebels. Realizing it was just a physical reaction, Jake grabbed the trash can from under the desk, scurried over in a crouch, and shoved it under her chin. Blech. Pork. She heaved, but having not eaten dinner and already lost most of her stomach contents to the lake, only a little liquid came up. He stayed half-crouched, one hand clutching his towel for dear life, the other gently patting her back to help her. Her long, dark hair cascaded down her back, and her shirt had ridden up, revealing a sliver of her smooth waist. When she finally stopped gagging, he switched from patting to rubbing, his hand accidentally brushing against her silky skin. Aurora, you done? Yeah, done. She tossed her hair back and flopped on her back, fast asleep once more. Jake, still crouched by the bed, had a perfect view of a landscape of rolling hills. He saw that she was settled. though her brow was still furrowed in drunken discomfort. But he was a young, healthy guy, and his own physical reaction was becoming impossible to ignore. He spotted a full-size bath towel on the armchair across the room. He snatched it, wrapped it securely around his waist, and called the front desk. Beep, beep. Hello, Serenity Inn. Hey, fanfic girl, Jake said without thinking. Do you guys have anything for Hangover? My girlfriend is really sick. Zoe's voice exploded through the phone. You're the pervert, you creep. Getting a girl drunk is exactly what you wanted, isn't it, you scumbag? Jake pulled the phone away from his ear. He'd accidentally said his private nickname for her out loud, and she was furious. My mistake, my mistake. Calm down, okay? He said soothingly. We don't have hangover remedies. Besides, isn't this what you wanted? Her passed out, helpless, ready for you to do whatever you want. Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. I read all about this. The helpless husband, the drunken wife. Oh, Jake. He could practically see her blushing. She'd revealed her hand. You need to read less of that stuff. You'll stunt your growth. My mistake, my mistake. She mimicked her tone, now giggly. Anyway, we don't have anything. Sorry. She sounded ready to hang up and get back to her screen. Wait, I think I passed a pharmacy on the way here. Can you run and get something? Jake asked. No way. I'm on duty. Why don't you go? She shot back. I'm not dressed, and I have to watch my girlfriend. She just threw up. If she does it again on the bed, you're the one who's going to have to clean it, he argued, appealing to her self-interest. You're already undressed? Zoe's mind immediately conjured a steamy scene. The drunken maiden, the handsome, predatory scumbag. What's it got to do with me? I'm not going. You call me fanfic girl, she pouted, shaking her head. Seeing that she was immovable, Jake switched tactics. I know a really, really good website, he said, his voice dripping with temptation. Zoe. Chapter 4. The website and the hangover cure. Zoe's heart skipped a beat. The website she was on was one she'd stumbled upon by accident, and it hadn't been updated in ages. She was bored with it. What? What kind of website? I'm a respectable girl, you know. I don't look at just any site. It's the kind you like, Jake tempted. It's got everything. Boy on boy, girl on girl, even animation. All very respectable, of course. The thought of new material was too much for Zoe to resist. Fine, she said, her cheeks flushing. But just so we're clear, this isn't about the website. I'm just helping a guest in need. Got it. Understood, Jake said, hiding a smile. I'll leave you a 5-star review tomorrow. Just wait. And you're reimbursing me. No problem. Hurry back. Jake glanced at Aurora, who still looked uncomfortable, and urged Zoe on. I know. Stop rushing me, she grumbled. After checking that there were no pending reservations, she locked the front door and left. After hanging up, Jake gently lifted Aurora's head and slid a pillow underneath it to make her more comfortable. He moved the foul-smelling trash can to the door for Zoe to deal with later and turned on the AC and fanned air out the room. With that done, he took his jacket and t-shirt to the sink and gave them a quick wash with shampoo before wringing them out to dry. About 20 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Jake, still in his towel, opened it to find Zoe, flushed and slightly out of breath. It was clear she'd run all the way back. The things people will do for their hobbies, he thought, amused. Here, the hangover cure. Just mix it with water. Thanks. And can you take the trash can on your way out? He reached for the medicine, but she held on tight. He looked up and saw her deadpan expression. The website, she said coolly. I have important studies to get back to. Right. My memory. He instantly remembered the deal. Can you remember if I just tell you? Let's just add each other on Messenger, she said with a completely straight face, like a diligent student who couldn't risk forgetting a vital piece of information. My memory is good, but for something this important, it's better to be safe. Hang on. Jake grabbed his phone from the desk and added her. Her username was Zoe Bear, with a cute anime avatar. Okay, I sent it. Can I have the medicine now? She finally let go. Her fingers brushed against his, and she snuck a peek at his defined collarbone and handsome face. Her imagination started running wild again. I'll be going now. Call if you need anything else. She gave her head a little shake, as if to clear it of naughty thoughts. What a cute, nerdy girl. He closed the door, poured a glass of warm water, and set it with the medicine on the nightstand. He sat on the edge of the bed, lifted Aurora's head onto his lap, and gently pinched her cheeks. With his other hand, He brushed the stray hairs away from her face, revealing her soft pink lips. Open up. Say, that's it, a little wider. Good girl. Drink it. No, Aurora murmured, resisting in her stupor. Did I pinch too hard? Hey, don't spit it out. Good girl, that's it. Swallow. Blech. She gagged, and water dribbled from her mouth. Damn it. I have to do it all over again. It took a Herculean effort, but he finally got the medicine down her throat. After a few minutes, he felt her relax on his lap. The hangover cure was working. What's that poking my cheek? She mumbled unconsciously, rolling over to face his stomach. He was wearing nothing but a towel, which had come loose during the struggle. Sure, go to sleep. It's just my phone. I'll move it. He carefully shifted her head away. This position was far too tempting. He grabbed a tissue from the nightstand and gently wiped the water from the corner of her mouth. He studied her pink lips, her long, elegant neck, the rise and fall of her chest, and further down. She was sleeping like a baby. He couldn't resist giving her cheek a gentle squeeze. He carefully placed her in the middle of the bed, propped her up with the pillow, and pulled the covers over her. What a day. I'm exhausted. Tomorrow, she is definitely buying me a steak dinner to thank me for this. He grabbed the other pillow, intending to sleep on the sofa. It wasn't that Aurora wasn't tempting. Quite the opposite. She was too tempting. He was afraid he'd lose control, and the consequences of that were unthinkable. Mostly, he was afraid of going to jail. He turned off all the lights except for a small lamp and, exhausted from the day's events, fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, sunlight streamed through a gap in the curtains. A piercing scream shattered the silence. Jake shot up, instantly awake. He was on the bed. Aurora was on the floor. He must have found the sofa too cramped and unconsciously climbed into bed during the night. As for why Aurora was on the floor, well, that probably had nothing to do with him. Definitely not. Am I dreaming? How did I get here? He saw Aurora sitting on the floor, legs tucked under her, staring at him with a cool, collected expression. It was a stark contrast to the vulnerable, drunk girl from last night, and much more in line with her sophisticated appearance. He quickly explained everything that had happened, from the rescue to the motel, swearing he hadn't laid a finger on her. When he finished his breathless explanation, he saw her watching him with clear eyes, as if she had something to say. Jake got off the bed, drank a glass of water, and tightened his towel. Is there a problem? I want to be your girlfriend, she said, her expression dead serious. I'll allow you to refuse. Jake? He blinked, completely thrown. What kind of line is that? Did she watch too much anime? Is this what they call love at first sight? What did she see in me? The heroic rescue. The fact that I didn't take advantage of her. He then noticed that beneath her cool exterior, she was trembling with nerves. He suddenly understood. This girl was a little awkward with a cute, quirky side. In one night, he'd met the strangest girls of his life. Zoe, the fanfic reader, and Aurora, who asked a guy out moments after meeting him. Well, I guess that's not impossible, Jake stammered. A girl this beautiful is asking me out? Only an idiot would say no. So, are we like a couple now? Aurora's eyes lit up. Yeah, I guess so. So, when are we going on a date? Today. 2 hours later, Zoe was nodding off at the front desk, looking like a bobblehead. The motel was small, and she was the only one on duty. She was supposed to catch some sleep during the dead hours of the night, but had sacrificed it all for her fanfics. Excuse me, can you call room 605 for me? Tell my boyfriend to come down. Zoe jolted awake and looked up at a girl who looked like she'd stepped out of a fairy tale. Aurora was wearing a breezy, floral sundress, carrying a small black purse, and wearing lace-trimmed socks with black Mary Janes. She radiated youthful charm. Zoe herself was considered pretty, one of the campus beauties at her college, but standing next to Aurora, she felt completely overshadowed. I can't believe a girl this pretty ended up with that scumbag, Zoe muttered. Jake is not a scumbag, Aurora said, her expression instantly turning fierce, ready to defend his honor. Okay. You've really got it bad, don't you? Zoe shrugged and dialed the room. Scumbag, I mean Jake. Your girlfriend is waiting for you at the front desk. Hearing the word girlfriend, a small, happy smile played on Aurora's lips. When Jake came downstairs, he was immediately captivated. The combination of her sophisticated air and girlish outfit was stunning. The sunlight streaming in turned her dark, wavy-haired gold. She looked impossibly fresh and beautiful. Jake took Aurora to Havenwood Park's boardwalk, a lively strip filled with small shops and food stalls. "Jake, look what I got." Aurora, with a completely straight face, held up a black revolver and pointed it at him. Click! He flinched, but a small flame flickered from the barrel. "Damn, it's a lighter." Aurora grinned. "I saw you smoke. This is for you." "Jake, I want a soda." "You want a Sprite?" "No, I want a Coke." "Jake, why is this pair of lace stockings for sale?" "It's all torn." I think the shopkeeper put it in the wrong section." Jake quickly pulled a curious Aurora away from the adult novelty stall. Last night, while looking through her purse for her ID, he found a scheduled packed with extracurriculars: ballet, piano, foreign languages. Her days were planned to the minute. He realized her childhood must have been incredibly repressed. This must be the real her finally coming out. A few minutes later, Aurora stopped, pulling Jake with her. A little boy was pulling a large, colorful plastic snail on a string. Its head bobbed up and down hypnotically as it moved. Aurora's eyes locked onto it with fierce determination. She turned to Jake, her eyes wide and pleading. "You don't seriously want one of those, do you? You're 20 years old. You're in college. That's for little kids. That's something a toddler would play with." Jake tried to talk her out of it, but under her relentless, puppy dog-eyed assault, he gave in and asked the boy's father where he'd bought the toy. "We need two," Aurora declared, her eyes shining with excitement. "A blue one and an orange one." "Jake, hey, I'm a mature college student. Don't think you can drag me into your childish games." A few minutes later, they caught up to the little boy. Jake couldn't resist looking back and saying, "Our snails glow in the dark. Does yours do that?" The little boy burst into tears. His father shot Jake a dirty look before picking up his son to go buy the glowing version. "Where to next?" "To the legendary food court." Aurora held Jake's hand as they pulled their glowing snails behind them, earning more than a few strange looks. "Jake, I want fried chicken tenders." "Done." "Jake, I want a frozen yogurt." "Done." "Jake, I think I swallow my bubble gum." "You're not supposed to swallow it. I just told you that." "I forgot." Jake, looking genuinely concerned, gently opened her mouth and peered inside, hoping to spot it and pull it out before it was too late. "Just kidding. Hee hee. Catch me if you can." Aurora giggled and darted away. "Oh, you're in for it now. The prettier they are, the bigger the lies," he yelled, a playful grin on his face. "Don't run. When I catch you, I'm spanking you." He chased after her. Their laughter echoed as they arrived at a dessert shop. It was filled with kids and their parents. "Welcome. What can I get for you too?" a friendly waitress asked. "Order whatever you want," Jake said magnanimously to Aurora, while mentally calculating if he could survive the rest of the month on instant noodles. "Wow, my mom is so strict. I haven't had dessert in forever," Aurora said, her eyes sparkling. "The strawberry ice cream sundae. Ooh, and I want the mango one too. And a Coke, fries, and some fried chicken." Jake watched in horror as the bill climbed. He was pretty sure he didn't have enough cash to cover this. He wondered if the shop would let him wash dishes to pay off the debt. Aurora, seeing his predicament, slyly slipped a black credit card into his hand under the table, tracing 6 numbers into his palm. He instantly understood it was the PIN. She was saving him, protecting his pride. "Okay, that'll be $43.50. Will that be cash or card?" "Card, please, honey," Aurora cooed, snuggling up to him with a playful, lovesick expression. "I've got it," Jake said, stepping forward and handing the card to the waitress, his heart already starting to fall for this girl. They sat at a small table, and Aurora dug in with gusto. It was clear she rarely got to eat junk food, another clue that she came from a very strict, well-to-do family. "So, you're saying you jumped in a Luna lake to save me?" she asked between bites. "Yeah, it's a good thing you were out cold. Otherwise, rescuing you would have been a lot harder." He recounted the entire story of the rescue. Aurora, holding a spoonful of strawberry sundae, licked it slowly, then looked up at him. "Are my boobs nice?" "You've looked at my chest at least 20 times since we sat down," she added. "And when I woke up by the lake, your hand were on them." Jake's jaw tightened. "Aurora, you are one direct girl. So much for a strict upbringing." I was just admiring." Aurora suddenly looked down at her own legs, then back up at Jake. "Do you think my legs would look good in those ripped stockings we saw?" Your legs. His eyes were involuntarily drawn to them. They're white and long and thin. Want a touch? She asked with a sly smile, extending one perfectly straight, rounded leg toward him. Chapter 5. The Temptation of the Hot Tub. Nightfall. A private suite at a high-end spa. Aurora, clad in a bikini, soaked in the steaming water, her face flushed and rosy. She kicked her feet playfully. The suite was reserved just for the two of them. Jake wiped the sweat from his brow, his eyes repeatedly drifting to Aurora's stunning figure. Her long, white legs, her slender waist, the faint outline of abs on her flat stomach. She seemed completely uninhibited, stretching and moving in ways that were both innocent and incredibly alluring. Jake couldn't look away. Jake, look at my swim cap. We can go for a real swim later. Yeah, he mumbled, his gaze fixed elsewhere. They're big and white. My swim cap is pink. She followed his gaze down to her chest. Are you staring at my boobs again? Caught red-handed, Jay tried to play it cool. No, I'm a gentleman. Then can you let go of my leg? You're going to leave a bruise. I was just helping you exfoliate. With a look of perfect innocence, he released her smooth thigh and pretended nothing had happened. Splash. Aurora stood up in the water, her back to him, and leaned over to grab a towel. A vast expanse of smooth, white skin was inches from his face. He could feel the heat radiating off her. I can't take this anymore, his mind screamed. He quickly handed her the towel, discreetly adjusted himself, and stood up. I'm going to go hit the sauna for a bit. Sweat it out. Aurora watched him flee, a triumphant smile on her face. Her body definitely had an effect on him. It was 9 p.m. by the time they left the spa. Happy times always seemed to fly by. It was time to say goodbye. I have to go, Aurora said, her voice full of reluctance. My mom only gives me one free day a month. When will I see you again? How can I contact you? Jake asked, feeling the same reluctance. My mom controls all my social media accounts, she said, tilting her head. I'll memorize your number. I'll call you next month. It's 5:55. Jake recited his number, repeating it twice to be sure. Aurora looked up at him, her eyelashes fluttering. It's engraved in my heart now. I'll never forget it. A taxi pulled up. He politely opened the back door for her, shielding her head as she got in. The window rolled down. See you next month, she said. Don't forget me. I'll be waiting, Jake replied. You too. The taxi carrying Aurora pulled up to a gate in a lavish, gated community. She checked the time. She'd never been home this late. Taking a deep breath, she prayed she wouldn't run into her mother. The living room was dark. Relieved, she thought her mother was already asleep. As she tiptoed toward her bedroom, a cold voice cut through the darkness. Why are you so late? The lights flashed on, illuminating a magnificent, European-style living room with a glittering crystal chandelier. A stern, elegant woman sat on an expensive sofa, looking every bit the queen of her castle. Mom, Aurora said, her usual confidence gone. Something came up at school. The woman's face hardened. I taught you manners. I taught you etiquette. I never, ever taught you to lie. She slapped the arm of the sofa. I went to your campus today. You weren't there. Kneel. Thump. Aurora dropped to her knees on the plush Persian rug, her eyes welling with tears. She didn't fight back. She had lived this way for 20 years. The woman stood and walked toward the stairs, pausing beside her daughter. I'm doing this for your own good, darling. This is how your grandmother taught me. It's why I was able to marry your father. It's why you get to grow up in a home like this. Halfway up the stairs, she stopped and looked down at Aurora and a nearby maid. Mrs. Wu, she will kneel until midnight. You will supervise. Yes, madam, the maid replied. Aurora just bowed her head, silent tears streaming down her face. She wanted to scream that this wasn't the life she wanted, that she wanted to make her own choices. Then, she started replaying her day with Jake, and a small smile touched her lips. That idiot, she thought. He still hasn't recognized me. After sending Aurora off, Jake felt like a part of him was missing. He'd never felt this way before. He kept asking himself why a goddess like Aurora would fall for him. Was it gratitude for saving her life? That seemed a little too dramatic for the 21st century. Was it because he hadn't taken advantage of her when she was drunk? Maybe his character was that appealing. Plus his own dashing good looks? Yeah, that was probably it. Whatever he thought, I'm the one who scored a movie star girlfriend. I'm the lucky one. The night, air was getting chilly. He stuck his hands in his pockets. What's this? He pulled out a thick wad of cash. $1,000. He remembered Aurora's hand in his pocket just before she got in the taxi. He'd asked her why she didn't just use her own pocket. She just smiled mysteriously. This girl, she's really something else. Is this what they call a sugar mama? Except she's using her dad's money to spoil her broke boyfriend. He chuckled and pulled out his phone, which he kept on silent all day. The first thing he saw was a text from Will. Will, good news. You owe me breakfast. Covered for you with the RA. Good old Will, he thought. He had skipped his RA duties to be with Aurora. But why the good news part? Then he saw the second text. Will, bad news. Your mom called you like a maniac, couldn't get through, and then showed up at the dorm this afternoon. Good luck, dude. His heart sank. He saw a dozen missed calls from his mom. With a sense of dread, he dialed her back. Ring. Ring. Hey, Mom. Where have you been? Where are you now? You weren't in your dorm all day. Why didn't you answer your phone? The barrage of angry questions made him pull the phone away from his ear. Mom, listen, I can explain. You're skipping your duties now. I don't care where you are. Get home. Now. Mom, wait. Beep. 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 She'd hung up. He had no choice but to call an Uber and head home. His family lived in an older part of town, an hour's drive from his college. It was nearly 11 p.m. when he arrived. He pushed open the gate to their small, single-family home. The yard had flower beds and a small vegetable patch. In the corner stood a massive old oak tree with a single yellow porch light attached to its trunk. Underneath it, their golden retriever, Buddy, was wagging his tail. Good boy, Buddy. Quiet. The living room light was off. He quietly let himself in, hoping to sneak to his room before his mom saw him. That way, he could have a door between them for the inevitable yelling. Stop right there. The living room light clicked on, flooding the room. He froze. Every time he messed up, his mom found something to hit him with. A rolling pin, a broom. If she was cooking, maybe a cucumber or an eggplant. He turned around slowly, praying it wasn't the broom. When he saw what was in her hand, his heart dropped. It was the broom. Whack! Ow, ow, ow. He jumped, clutching his backside as he scrambled around the living room, a burning sting on his butt. Don't you run from me. Get back here. You're skipping your responsibilities. You ignore my calls. Do you have any idea how worried I was? I'm so mad. I'm going to beat your butt black and blue tonight. He dodged and weaved like a mouse being chased by a cat. Mom, let me explain. Whack. Ow. Stop hitting me just for a second. Whack. Mom, I have a girlfriend. She stopped instantly, her expression shifting from fury to shock. You really have a girlfriend? Jake rubbed his sore behind. Yeah, I was out with her today. The anger on his mom's face melted into pure excitement. Is she pretty? Is she a classmate? Do you have a picture? He pulled out his phone and showed her a photo they'd taken in front of the carousel. Aurora was making a cute face, holding up a peace sign and leaning against his chest. She looked adorable, charming, perfect. Oh my goodness, she's beautiful. How did she ever fall for you? Jake? His mom stared at the photo for a long time before reluctantly handing the phone back. Well, I approve. But what's her personality like? What about her family? Jake smiled. She's great, and I think her family is pretty rich. His mom's face fell. Oh, do you think they'll approve of our family? Jake didn't know how to answer that. He just told his mom they just started dating and would cross that bridge when they came to it. Chapter 6. The 10-Year Promise. Excerpt from the following 10 years, leading to the present. A month later, Jake and Aurora met again. This time, he was ready. He'd been saving every penny, skipping late-night games of Call of Duty and League of Legends with his friends. The last 8 had been on a dime. This time, he came armed with $300 in cash, feeling like a king. She dragged him onto the theme park's drop tower, a ride that terrified his height-fearing soul. He screamed his lungs out. She laughed like silver bells. They bought matching couples outfits. She complained her heels didn't match and playfully begged him to switch shoes. He refused, citing his masculine pride, until she crumpled to the floor, hugging his leg and pouting with tear-filled eyes. He caved. He spent the afternoon clomping around the park in her 2-inch heels, earning stares and a few laughs, while she walked barefoot and carefree, happier than he'd ever seen her. The next month, her birthday, was the pinnacle. He arranged with a local street band at Havenwood Park to let him be a guest singer. As the sun set, he took the makeshift stage and, in front of a crowd of hundreds, sang Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud directly to her. As the final notes played, a surprise fireworks display he'd paid for with his savings exploded over Luna Lake. Later, under the lovers' oak, they tied a red ribbon to a branch, making a promise. She wanted to go to a club, a first for her. They drank, they danced, she got wasted again. He carried her back to the Serenity Inn, but a call from her mother shattered the perfect night. The confrontation was brutal. Her mother's cold disdain, her father's pragmatic, soul-crushing logic. He was a broke college kid. She was an heiress. Her father laid out the challenge, a 10-year separation. Prove yourself, he'd said. If it's real, it will last. In 10 years, you'll both only be 30. There's still time. He agreed. He said goodbye to a heartbroken but determined Aurora. On the taxi ride home, he read a letter she'd given him. It revealed a secret. She'd recognized him. 2 years prior, he'd saved her from a stray dog outside the public library, getting bitten in the process. He'd shrugged it off, saying, "A hero doesn't stick around for applause," and left without giving his name. She had known his name, Jake Carter, ever since. The drowning hadn't been an accident. It was a desperate plea to the universe after her beloved grandmother had passed away. She had prayed to see her hero, Jake, again, and he had appeared. Her letter ended with, "Jake, I'll be waiting for you in 10 years. He had written only 4 words back to her. "Wait for me, Aurora." The next day, Jake dropped out of college and bought a one-way bus ticket to Chicago with $200 in his pocket. He worked grueling jobs, got scammed, waited tables, and poured every ounce of his energy into climbing. He found a mentor in a tough-as-nails restaurant tycoon who saw his own youthful grit in Jake. He learned the business from the ground up, from service to supply chains. 7 years in, with $1 million of his own savings and a $4 million investment from his mentor, he opened his first high-end restaurant. Within 3 years, he had a multi-million-dollar hospitality empire. And for the last 6 months, he had returned to Havenwood, to the Lover's Oak, to wait. Present day, thought that dying for love was just an old story. The ringtone pulled Jake from his memories. He answered the call. "Hey, Mom, I'm almost there. Stop rushing me." "What? You're sure I like this girl?" "Mom, you know my heart belongs to someone else. Just get here. You'll regret it if you don't," she said, and hung up. Jake sighed. "My mom's at it again," he said to Will. "Says I'll regret it if I don't meet this girl." He let out a dry laugh. "She acts like she's Aurora Hayes or something." The tea house. A gentle-looking woman with long hair was holding hands with a younger woman, chatting warmly. "Mom." Jake walked in, dressed in a tasteful cream-colored suit, and smiled at his mother. The girl had her back to him, but the silhouette was familiar. "There you are, you brat," his mother said, grinning. She turned Jake to face the girl. "Look who it is." The girl turned around, and the world stopped. It was her. A decade hadn't aged her. It had only refined her, polishing her beauty into a stunning, mature grace. She wore a professional white blazer and a matching skirt, her dark hair falling in perfect waves. "Aurora." Tears streamed down her smiling face. "Hello, Jake Carter. I'm Aurora Hayes." "You're late," he choked out, pulling her into a fierce, desperate hug. "I know," she whispered into his chest, her voice thick with emotion. "I counted every single day." "Then why?" Jake pulled back, holding her by the shoulders, his eyes searching hers. "It's a long story. I was overseas for years. My mother still didn't want me to be with you. She kept setting me up with all these wealthy heirs." "So what happened?" "So," she said, a mischievous, heartbreakingly familiar glint in her eyes, "I had to give her an ultimatum. I reminded her what I was willing to do for you." She smiled through her tears. I think she remembered the last time I made a choice like that. End of excerpt.